You did not choose to think about them today. They just appeared. A memory, a sentence they said, the exact expression on their face the moment everything fell apart. You were brushing your teeth, or sitting in traffic, or about to fall asleep, and there they were, uninvited. Again, why can't your brain just let it go? The answer is not weakness. It is not obsession. It is not a character flaw you need to fix. The answer is far older than you are and far stranger than you might expect. Your brain is not trying to torture you. It is trying to protect you. It just happens to be using a survival system that was designed for a world you no longer live in. Let's start with what is actually happening inside your skull when someone hurts you. The moment you experience a significant emotional wound, betrayal, rejection, humiliation, loss, your brain does something very specific. It flags that event as unresolved, not painful, not bad, unresolved. There is a difference, and that difference changes everything. Psychologist Martin Seligman spent decades studying how people respond to adversity. One of his core findings was that the human mind does not just record experiences the way a camera records video. It evaluates them, it assigns status, and experiences that feel unresolved, where the outcome was unclear, the explanation was missing, or the ending did not make sense. Those events get tagged differently than experiences that feel complete. Completed experiences get filed away. Unresolved ones get recycled. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, first documented in the 1920s by Soviet psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik. She noticed something strange while observing waiters in a Vienna restaurant. The waiters could recall every detail of an incomplete order, who needed what was missing, what still had to be delivered. But the moment an order was completed and paid for, they forgot it almost immediately. The brain, Zeigarnik realized, holds open loops. It keeps unfinished things active, circling, accessible, because they still require attention, because the task is not done. Your brain is treating the person who hurt you like an unfinished order. The loop is still open, and until your mind believes it is closed, that the threat has been understood, processed, or neutralized, it will keep pulling that memory forward, not because it enjoys your suffering, because it is doing its job. Now here is where it gets even stranger. The brain does not store memories the way you think it does. You imagine memory like a photograph, a fixed, accurate record of what happened. But neuroscientist Daniel Schachter has spent years showing that memory is reconstructive, not reproductive. Every time you recall something, you are not retrieving a stored file. You are rebuilding it piece by piece in the moment. And every time you rebuild it, the memory shifts slightly. It is influenced by your current emotional state, your expectations, the last time you thought about it. This is why the person who hurt you can seem to grow larger in your memory over time, more menacing, more important. The act of remembering them over and over is not a neutral process. It is an additive one. Each recall slightly reshapes the original. Your brain is not replaying a tape. It is repainting a picture, each time with slightly darker colors. And there is a cruel irony inside this process. The more you try not to think about them, the more you think about them. Psychologist Daniel Wegner called this ironic process theory. In one of the most famous suppression experiments in psychology, he asked participants to do one thing: do not think about a white bear, think about anything else, but not that. The result was predictable and devastating. Participants thought about the white bear constantly, more than control groups who were never told to suppress the thought at all. The act of monitoring your own mind for the forbidden thought requires you to keep generating the thought in order to check whether you are having it. Suppression feeds the loop. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It is doing three things simultaneously, all of them ancient, all of them designed for a world where threats were physical and immediate. First, it is threat monitoring. The person who hurt you has been classified as a source of potential danger. Whether that danger is emotional or physical, your nervous system is treating it the same way. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, stays partially activated around anyone it has coded as a threat. That activation keeps pulling their face, their voice, their words into conscious awareness. Your brain is scanning for them the same way your ancestors scanned the tree line for predators. Second, it is pattern searching. One of the brain's most powerful drives is to understand why things happen, specifically why painful things happen. This is your cingulate cortex working hard, analyzing the event, replaying it, looking for the moment it went wrong, looking for the warning signs you might have missed. The goal is not punishment. The goal is prediction. Your brain wants to understand the pattern so that next time it sees it coming. The problem is that sometimes there is no clear pattern. Sometimes people act randomly or cruelly or without explanation. The brain does not accept that easily, so it keeps looking. Third, it is running a simulation. Neuroscientist Carl Friston's theory of predictive processing suggests that your brain's primary function is not to react to the world but to predict it. Your brain is a prediction machine. It builds models of how people will behave, and when those models fail, when someone acts in a way you did not predict, especially harmfully, your brain runs and reruns the scenario trying to update the model. The intrusive thoughts are the simulation running. Your mind is rehearsing alternative outcomes, alternative responses, alternative versions of events, where you say the right thing, where you see it coming, where you are not caught off guard. Every time you replay the conversation, you are training your own predictive system for next time. This is not irrational. It is rational in the deepest evolutionary sense. A brain that could not learn from social wounds, could not update its models after betrayal, could not stay alert to threats, that brain got its owner hurt again and again. The brain that ruminated, that stayed alert, that kept the loop open until the threat was truly neutralized, that was the brain that survived. You are not stuck in the past because you are weak. You are stuck because your brain thinks the threat is still present, and in some ways it is, because the person who hurt you is not just a memory, they are a pattern, a category, a kind of situation your brain now has to navigate differently than it did before. The processing is not finished. The model has not yet been rebuilt. So what does closing the loop actually look like? Researcher James Pennebaker at the University of Texas spent years studying the effects of expressive writing on psychological health. He found something remarkable. When people wrote about traumatic experiences in a structured narrative way, not just expressing feelings, but constructing a coherent story with a beginning, middle, and end, their intrusive thoughts decreased, their physical health improved, and their psychological distress dropped significantly. What mattered was not just venting. It was sense-making. The brain needs a story it can believe, an explanation it can accept, an ending it can recognize as an ending. That is what the loop wants, not revenge, not an apology, not even justice, just a story with an ending, a model that works, a pattern it understands. The thoughts that keep returning are asking a question your brain has not yet answered. Why did this happen, and what does it mean about the world? When you can answer that, even partially, even imperfectly, the thoughts begin to quiet, not because the pain disappears, but because the open loop starts to close. The unfinished order gets marked complete. The waiter can finally put it down. You did not choose to think about them today, but now you understand why you did. Your brain was not betraying you. It was doing the only thing it knows how to do when the world does not make sense. It was trying to figure it out, over and over and over again, until it could. And somewhere in that loop, somewhere in all that replaying and rebuilding and rehearsing, something is quietly being built. A new model, a new story, a new version of you who sees it coming next time. The person who hurt you will appear less and less, not because you forced them out, but because the question your brain was asking finally has an answer. You did not choose to think about them today, but one day, without noticing exactly when it happened, you will realize you did not think about them at all.